Hello everyone, so today we're going to be doing another sewing like thrift flip kind of video. In my last video I mentioned that I have this sweater that is way too big for me and I wanted to like resize it to make it fit me. So I think we're going to do that today. This is the sweater here. It's a pretty simple sweater, but I feel like once I like resize it and like make it fit me properly, it's just gonna be like one of my favorite sweaters ever. I'm probably gonna wear it all the time. And I've actually had this sweater for like probably over a year now, and I haven't worn it just because like it's so ridiculously big. And I really went back and forth debating if I should even like attempt to make this smaller because I'm probably gonna ruin it, or if I should just like donate it again, or like I don't know, sell it. But I figured I might as well give it a try. Like worst case I ruin it and like I can't wear it, but like best case it becomes my favorite sweater. So I think the first thing that I'm going to do is find a sweater that I really like the way it fits and lay it on top of this one so that I can kind of like see what size I want to make this one and see where I want to sew it in order to like make it the same shape. And we're going to be using the sewing machine today, which I haven't used in a really long time, so I'm kind of worried that there might be some complications, but we'll figure that out. So I ended up using this black sweater because I like the way it fits. It's a large, so we're going to be going down from an extra large to a size large when we're resizing my gray sweater. And I just lined it up and flattened it on top so we could see where we need to take in my gray sweater. Okay, so I feel like I have two options here in order to make this as easy as possible. The first is kind of how I have it laid out right now, where I would take in more of the bottom area rather than the top. So I'd basically take in all of this down here, which would probably be easier and it would be nice because it would just keep these like seams as they are. Or I have the second option that would look more like this, where I keep the armpit area more intact. I would just take it in on the sides here and then take it in at the top, which would create another like seam line here, which I don't know if that would look kind of weird, but it would be nice because while doing that it would take in the collar a little bit, which would be nice because I feel like the collar is a little too loose. And I think I'm gonna go with this one because I think it's gonna end up working better. So next I just flipped the sweater inside out, which I probably should have done from the start. And then I just laid that other sweater back on top. And I took a ruler and some chalk and just started drawing out about 2.5 inches from each side of the sweater where that other sweater was lining up. So I did that on both sides, and then once I did the other side, I did the top part of the sweater where I took in about 2 inches. You can obviously take in as much or as little as you want, it just depends on how you want your sweater to fit. Then I just took some safety pins and started pinning along the lines that I just drew. I like using safety pins because you know you're not going to poke yourself once the sweater is on. And then I just flipped the sweater back right side in so that we can try it on. So this is what it looks like once I put all of the safety pins in, and I'm actually super excited because I didn't know if this was even gonna like work or not. And yeah, you can tell like right away it looks like smaller and exactly how I want it to fit. I am gonna have to make like a few adjustments, like for example on this arm these lines don't line up perfectly, so I have to make sure I really nail that. And there was already a seam here previously, so I'm going to try to line that up as well. But yeah, I'm excited to get sewing. Okay, so it's been a little bit of time since the last clip, and I realized that it just looked too weird having this seam along the top of the sweater. Like no sweaters really look like that, they're hidden underneath for a reason. So I decided to change up where I was gonna sew just a little bit. I'm gonna keep this up here because I do want to keep the collar a little smaller than before. And instead of going like 2 inches all the way down, I'm just gonna taper it out a bit until it gets to the shoulder on each side. And instead of going along the top, like I said I was going to before, we are gonna go along the bottom and taper it in as well to then create like a new armpit and continue down the side of the sweater. So I'll show you what that looks like on before we get started. So this is what the sweater looks like now that I fixed the seam so that it will go in the inside. And I think it looks a lot more clean around the arm, and this way if I make any mistakes, it'll kind of be like hidden underneath. So I guess we should start sewing. So I ended up using just like a regular straight stitch. I feel like one of the other ones, like the zigzag one, probably would have been better, but it just wasn't really working for me, so I kept it simple. And I never really know what my tension is set at because the knob fell off, so I can't really provide that information. I ended up using black thread. Obviously you want to use thread that matches your fabric, but I didn't really have a good like dark toned gray, so black worked for me. I decided to start at the collar of the sweater. I just thought it would be kind of like easier because it's a smaller piece to work with. And I started with a reverse stitch, of course, just to secure the stitch in place. And I was just following along the lines which I drew, which made everything really, really easy. Of course, I finished off each stitch with a reverse stitch just to secure everything in place and make sure the thread won't pull apart. After every section I sewed, I made sure to try it on just to make sure everything was okay and nothing fit weird or was messed up. So like I predicted, everything didn't go completely smoothly. I had a problem with the bobbin where I think it either got tangled or just kind of like snapped off, so I had to like go in there and figure that out. But it was a pretty simple fix and we were back in business pretty quickly. So then I started on the other side of the collar, basically doing the same thing. As you can see, all the fabric was like getting bunched up to the right side of the machine, and a really easy fix would just be to simply flip the whole thing over. But the problem was I already drew my lines on that side, so I couldn't flip it over because there would be no lines to follow. So I would recommend when you're drawing your lines to kind of figure out which side of the sweater you need to draw them on, or maybe just like draw them on both sides. Either way, it wasn't really a big deal. It just made things a little bit more difficult to work around. Next, I started doing the arms slash side of the sweater, taking out all the safety pins as I went. For the armpit, I basically just followed the natural curve that was already there and just like took it in a bit. I thought this was gonna be like way more complicated, but that's pretty much all there was to it. And then I basically just repeated that exact thing on the other side. And you always want to give the fabric a little tug in the end just to make sure everything is good and nice and tight. So I just finished sewing and I tried it on and it actually fits perfectly. I'm so excited. I'm honestly surprised that I didn't have to like seam rip anything or like redo any spots, but I guess like that's what I got because I like made sure to measure really well and like try it on throughout the process. So we're just gonna cut off the excess fabric and then we'll show the final reveal. So here you can see me just cutting off all the excess fabric with my fabric scissors. I would highly recommend purchasing fabric scissors. Honestly, they make such a big difference than using just regular kitchen scissors. I literally got mine from the dollar store for like $3 and they work really, really well. So I was kind of afraid to cut too close to the seams that we just made because I was afraid I was like gonna cut them or something. So I ended up leaving like a lot of excess fabric, which I actually ended up going back in and cutting off more because it was like irritating my skin when I was wearing the sweater. So don't be afraid to like get close to that seam that you made. Just obviously be careful because you don't want to cut it and ruin all the work you just did. So let's see what the final reveal looks like. So this is the final sweater, and I'm honestly so impressed with myself that I was able to pull this off. Like, I honestly didn't know if it was gonna be like a complete disaster or not. And I'm so happy with like how it turned out. I'm gonna rock this sweater all the time. I'm really glad I made the decision to do the seam underneath. I think it looks like a lot more clean over here. Honestly, I don't think you can even tell that this was like resized at all. Probably done a better job when I was like tapering in here so that the line matched up better. But like honestly, I think it looks pretty good. The sleeves are a little long, but I honestly like the look of like having it rolled up. And I could have taken it in here as well, but I'm probably gonna mostly wear this like tucked in anyway. So I like the option to have it long as well. But yeah, I'm like so glad I did this. I feel like it's really given me more confidence with using my sewing machine. Like, I hadn't really used it a whole lot before. So the next time I do more of like a thrift flip video, I can do a little bit more like advanced stuff. And honestly, this was like so easy. The hardest part was just like planning it out and like measuring everything just to make sure it would come out perfectly, and that definitely paid off in the end because as you saw, I could easily just like follow the lines and sew, and it turned out like exactly how I wanted it to. So if you have a sweater that you wanted to make a little bit smaller, I would definitely recommend like give it a try. Honestly, it was so easy. Thanks for watching. Bye.